floor is yours, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liming. Good morning, everybody. So I would like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of April 28th, 2022. Mr. Liming, would you take the roll call, please?
Certainly. Would the representative from the Public Works Department please state his or her name?
Yasha Franklin Hodge.
Property Management Department?
Joseph Callahan.
Transportation Department?
Amy Gordon.
Water and Sewer Commission?
Denise Devlin.
Disabilities Commission?
Sarah Leon.
And I believe we do not have anyone from Inspectional Services, but we do have quorum.
Excellent, thank you very much. So first item today is hearing minutes. At the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on April 14th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 14th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Moving on to our next order of business, which is utility pole continued number 1 on a petition by Eversource Energy for pole installation within London Street Public Way, East Boston, to install 1 new utility pole to be located on its southeasterly side at address number 149 southwest of Porter Street. This is a continuation of utility pole hearing from April 14th. Would the presenters introduce themselves, their affiliations, and provide a brief overview of the project, after which we'll open it up to questions from the commission.
Hi, good morning. My name is Katie Flaherty, and I'm representing Eversource Energy this morning. This was continued from 2 weeks ago, and I'm here this morning to ask it to be continued for another 2 weeks till the next meeting, because our survey department is still working on a redesign for this. Originally, our plan was, I think, to attach to the stop sign, and now we know that we can't do that. Or attach the stop sign to the pole when we install the pole, I should say. So they're working right now to decide whether to go to the back of the curb. I think we talked about a gravel spot 2 weeks ago, and I think the gravel spot is owned by the city, but it's not the public way, so we would need private property rights. So it's our Eversource is trying to determine the right location still.
I think that our preference is definitely the gravel. So, right, like if we are the way that you would get it in the gravel, like I think that we can probably help facilitate that, because that's the best solution for everybody.
Okay, I'll bring that back for sure.
Go ahead.
I just was going to say, so we're just requesting another continuation.
Excellent. Mr. Liming, remind me again, do we need to have a formal motion for continuation?
Yeah, just accepting the request to continue for 2 weeks.
Excellent. Can I have a motion to accept the request to continue this for 2 weeks?
I'll make a motion to continue utility pole continued hearing number 1 for 2 weeks until April 28th.
No, May 12th.
May 12th.
Today's the 28th.
Oh, right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, so moved. Thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Moving on to our public hearing continued section, public hearing continued number 1 on a petition by Atlantic Oliver Mass LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Roxbury, consisting of curb realignments, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street lighting infrastructure, and driveway curb cuts. Massachusetts Avenue on its southwesterly side at address number 909, southeast of Island Street west of Massachusetts Avenue. This was on the new business for March 31st, 2022, and had an initial public hearing on April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, 909 Massachusetts Avenue and Island Street, Boston, Roxbury, 1 sheet dated January 17th, 2022, revised February 17th, 2022. I would ask that the presenters introduce themselves, their affiliations, and provide a brief overview of the project and report back about any changes or adjustments related to past outstanding questions from the previous two hearings.
Good morning, Kevin Sanders from EBI Consulting. We have been working with Ms. Cording and the Transportation Department to work on the curb cut on Mass Ave to provide pedestrian safety for the future bike path, along with access to our site for the buses that will be using this site. We've gone through several rounds, and we have talked to the DPW about their future plans for paving on Island Street. And our clients had some concerns about being able to get the buses in and out while they were paving that road and the surrounding roads. The DPW has assured us that they would work with us and would not have any disruptions to our bus schedules. So my clients and the owners of the property we have done what Ms. Corning has requested, and we have closed off the curb cut on Mass Ave. So this would include new curbing and a sidewalk through the area, and we would be replacing the gate with a solid fence, which would be part of the fence that we include for the project. So I think at this point, this would satisfy all the comments that we have received to date. And I would like to, if we have any questions or concerns going forward.
Oh, this is perfect. Thank you. Right. I know this was a slog, but thank you. The only thing, my comment is where you say proposed concrete driveway, it should say proposed concrete sidewalk. And then that's it.
Okay. I will change that for the final plan that I have to stamp anyway. So I'll fix that on that.
Do you have any other questions or comments from the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, none.
Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing continued number 1?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Atlantic Oliver Mass LLC for the making of specific repairs within Mass Ave and Island Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
You too. All right. Moving on to public hearing number 1 on a petition by 60 Guest Street Owner LLC for the making of specific repairs within Guest Street, Public Way, Brighton, located on its northerly side at address number 60 east of Life Street, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavement, street lighting infrastructure, street furniture, street trees, planters, landscaping, drainage infrastructure, and bike racks. This was on the new business for April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, 60 Guest Street, Brighton, 7 sheets dated April 27th, 2022. Would the presenters please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and provide a brief overview of the project and report back on any outstanding questions or revisions since the new business hearing, after which we'll open up the floor for questions and comments from the commission.
Good evening, Chair and fellow commissioners. Devin Howe from Beals Associates here on behalf of the petitioner, 60 Guest Street Owner LLC. Here from the ownership group is Mark Barrere and Trey Redman from Lend-Lease, as well as our project's attorney, David Linhart from Goulston Stores. Moving into the plan, if it's okay with the chair, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, go right ahead.
So while we were here last for new business, one of the requests that came out was that we provide a straight edge along the concrete sidewalk, the interface between the concrete sidewalk and the permeable pavers. Generally in this area right here, we've straightened that out.
Kevin, sorry to interrupt you, but we're not seeing your screen.
I apologize. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
So as I was saying, there was a request to just make a straight line at the interface between the concrete sidewalk and the permeable pavers. We've done that, and that's generally in where this blue line is shown right here. There were some other various comments from PIC staff just on some various formatting they wanted to see on our plans, as well as just ensuring that the detectable warning pads were yellow in color, and we've added that note on our plan. Another comment that came out of PIC staff were that there are two ADA sidewalk ramps located on across the street, guest streets running along the middle of the sheet here. And on the other side of Life Street, there's a sidewalk ramp here. And on the other side of Guest Street, a sidewalk ramp here. We've been requested to perform a survey on those ramps, ensure that those are ADA compliant, and reconstruct those as necessary. Those ramps were constructed as part of the overall infrastructure along Guest Street, as well as they were recently completed as part of the track and field building. We're committing to going out there, performing that survey, and ensuring that those are, in fact, ADA compliant. Another minor thing that was requested by PIC staff is we had previously had a handhole for the street light located out in the concrete sidewalk area, and we removed two bike racks here just because the bike racks were in close proximity to the tree well as well as the light pole. So we've removed those bike racks and installed a new handhole in this location right here. Happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you so much, Devin, for the updated plans and the updated adjustments and taking into account our feedback. Can you just clarify what the path of travel will be on Guest Street in the rendered in the concrete?
So the path of travel, it's about 9 feet wide, and it would be, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. It would be generally right in this area here. So it'd be located between the building and the permeable pavers. That would really be the walking path along Guest Street.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
I will mention that this plan set does show improvements on Life Street. This section of Life Street is actually a private way. So we've asked that those improvements be shown just for reference, but that's not actually something that the commission is considering at this time. I will ask or remind the audience that if you wish to add testimony or ask questions, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen.
All right, hearing no further questions or comments and seeing no raised hands, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 1?
Make a motion to approve a petition by 60 Guest Street owner LLC for the making of specific repairs within Guest Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much. On to public hearing number 2 on a petition by 60 Guest Street owner LLC for the granting of an earth retention license for the installation of a temporary earth support system within Guest Street, public way, Brighton, located at address number 60 east of Life Street. This was on new business of April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Temporary Earth Retention Plan, 60 Guest Street, Brighton, 2 sheets dated April 27th, 2022. Would the presenters please introduce themselves or reintroduce themselves, their affiliation, and note any changes or adjustments that have been made since the new business hearing.
Again, just reintroducing ourselves. Devin Howe from Beals Associates on behalf of 60 Guest Street Owner LLC. Here with the ownership group is Mark Barrera and Trey Redmond from Lend-Lease, as well as David Linhart, our projects attorney from Goulston Stores. Since we were last here before the commission, Mr. Liming had some minor graphical comments on our plans, just to show the street right-of-ways in red on our plan, one there, and then on our section here. There was a comment from one of the commissioners regarding the interface between the proposed 60 Guest Street building and the 60 Guest Street building here, adjacent to the Warrior Ice Arena building, directly abutting our property. We provided to PIC staff an excerpt of the declaration between New Balance that ensures that New Balance will, or they are reviewing our plans, and we're working with them to ensure that everything is mutually agreeable. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, none.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 2?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 60 Guest Street Owner LLC for the granting of an earth retention license in Guest Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. On to public hearing number 3 on a petition by 60 Guest Street Owner LLC for the granting of an outdoor seating license for seasonal public outdoor seating within Guest Street Public Way, Brighton, located on its northerly side at address number 60 east of Life Street. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Outdoor Seating Area, 60 Guest Street, Brighton, one sheet dated April 27th, 2022. Would the presenters please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, provide a brief overview, and any changes that have been made subsequent to the original new business hearing.
So again, Devin Howe from Beals Associates here on behalf of 60 Guest Street Owner LLC. From the ownership side is Mark Barrera and Trey Redmond from Lend-Lease, as well as our projects attorney, David Linhart from Goulston Stores. Since we last were before the commission, there was just some questions regarding the planters that we were going to utilize along the edge of the cafe, extending up here as well as here. What the commission wanted to see was just, or PIC staff, was that these ends were closed off, both on this side and on this side. We've added a planter right here to block off access here, so someone doesn't accidentally, as they're walking along Guest Street, they don't wander into the sidewalk cafe. As well as on the other side, we've added a planter here with the string lights, and that will prevent people from just accidentally walking into the sidewalk cafe from the easterly direction. What we've also done on this detail up here is to ensure that these are cane detectable. We've just added a string light that's about 6 inches off the ground, just so if someone's walking along the cafe area, they'll be able to know that it's there. And also, one last thing I can add is it's already been discussed during the specific repairs. However, we made this line, the interface between the concrete sidewalk and the permeable pavers, a straight line instead of meandering along that edge. Happy to answer, again, any questions the commission or staff may have.
Oh, I appreciate the string lights in lieu of chain. Where do you get your power from?
So we are planning right now on utilizing batteries, potentially looking at maybe using some solar options, but batteries would be the primary source of power for these.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, we appreciate the project's willingness to work with us on plan updates. We're all set.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 3?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 60 Guest Street Owner LLC for the granting of an outdoor seating license at Guest Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much, Devin.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Mr. Chair, just want to mention real quick that Brian Ronan from ISD is joining the hearing.
Excellent. Welcome, Brian. All right, moving on to public hearing number 4 on a petition by the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Dorchester, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, guardrails, and driveway curb cuts. Victory Road between Freeport Street and the Interstate 93 overpass, Freeport Street at Victory Road. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, the Ponset River Greenway, Victory Road, and Freeport Street, Dorchester, 2 sheets dated March 31st, 2022. Would the presenters please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and provide a brief overview of the project, as well as reporting back on any changes or responses to items discussed in the original new business hearing.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Stella Lensing. I'm with the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation. I'm joined by Kellen Lewis, who is our project manager for this project from BSC Group. To give a quick overview of the project, the DCR is partnering with DOT to construct a greenway connection from Tenyon Beach to south of the Beads Bridge on Marcy Boulevard. And the Victory Road presents an area where we will be utilizing some roadway in order to connect two proposed sections of the greenway. And thank you, Kellen, if you just want to blow up that plan just a little bit. So this plan shows the proposed greenway, and you can see the area outlined in red is the area that belongs to the City of Boston, which will be impacted by a project. And with that, I will hand it over to Kellen.
Sure. So thank you, Stella. We didn't hear any comments from the new business hearing, but in overview, that portion included as part of the City of Boston layout includes reconstructing the intersection of Freeport Street and Victory Road by milling and overlaying the pavement, providing new pedestrian curb ramps and a widened island here, and then full depth pavement reconstruction from the limit of the intersection to the limit of the City of Boston right of way, including shared use path construction that ties into the trail connection coming from the south at Tenyon Beach and Conley Street up to intersect with Victory Road, as well as a reconstruction of a driveway located on the northern side of Victory Road. And this includes pavement markings with some yield markings for the slip lane and general overall tying this into the remainder of the project. I think with that, we'd open up to any questions or comments.
Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
Oh, just we'll mention that the intention is for the guardrail to be included in LMI with the project.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 4?
Make a motion to approve a petition by the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation for the making of specific repairs in Victory Road and Freeport Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? So moved. Thank you very much. On to public hearing number 5 on a joint petition by Burbank Terrace Acquisition LLC and Burbank Terrace LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easement adjacent to Burbank Street Public Way, Roxbury, located on its southerly side at address numbers 72 to 78, generally east of Hemingway Street. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Pedestrian Easement Plan, Burbank Street, Boston, one sheet dated January 6, 2022. Would the presenters please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and provide a brief overview of the project, as well as any changes or responses from feedback received at the new business hearing.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Commission. Nick Pittman from Fenway CDC, registered agent of the co-petitioners here. As a reminder, this is a 27-unit new development of affordable housing to begin construction in a couple months. And we're just granting a pedestrian easement to the city kind of at the front of the property here. Katie Fiedler from Embark Design, our architect for the project, can provide more information.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Katie Fiedler from Embark, as Nick mentioned. So we are proposing this pedestrian easement back to the city to allow an accessible concrete pathway to remain in front of our building. The pathway will be beyond the existing brick paving that you see kind of on the top of the screen, and will be at minimum depth. It will range from 8 to 7 feet at minimum clear throughout that pathway.
Do you have any comments or questions from members of the commission? Any comments or questions from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, all set with this one.
Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 5?
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by Burbank Terrace Acquisition LLC and Burbank Terrace LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement in Burbank Street as read into the record by the chair.
Okay.
All in favor? Oh, excuse me.
Aye.
I heard the second there.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, so moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public hearing number 6 on a petition by Extenet Systems Incorporated for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Dorchester: Milton Avenue, north of Gallivan Boulevard / Codman Street, Oak Ridge Street, south of Gallivan Boulevard. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Milton Avenue, Oak Ridge Street, and Gallivan Boulevard, Dorchester, 3 sheets dated April 2022. The presenters please introduce themselves, their affiliations, provide a brief overview of the project, and any changes or comments related to the items discussed at the new business hearing.
Sure. My name's Keenan Brand. I'm here on behalf of Extenet Systems. I'm also joined by Han from NB&C Engineering, who will supply technical support. This application involves a fiber run that runs pole to pole for 285 feet. It starts on Milton Ave and then runs down Milton Ave and across Gallivan Boulevard, which is a state road, and then on to Oldfield where it terminates at another pole. Extenet will take all precautions and coordinate with the city during construction, and they will also be supplying a shadow duct. We've revised the plans as requested last week, and we now show where the state highway boundary is on Gallivan Boulevard, and remove the trenching details from there. We have a separate permit for the state work, so this work in the city will be confined to essentially Milton Ave and Oldfield. I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them now.
Good morning. This is Denise Devlin from Boston Water and Sewer. I just want to make sure that's the same plan that we approved. I just looked at the plan that you submitted from last night. I know you said you had made some minor changes. It just looked like the granted location was the same, and I just want to make sure that what we have on file is the same.
Yes, it is positively. Nothing's changed in terms of the construction. It's just the identifying the state road, where that ends, and the work that's being done in the state road.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, we're all set. Thanks.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 6?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Exonet Systems for a grant of location in Milton Ave and Oak Ridge Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much. On to public hearing number 7 on a petition by Exonet Systems Incorporated for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within Hyde Park Avenue, Public Way, West Roxbury, located between address number 575 and Stella Road. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Grant of Location Plan, Stella Road, Hyde Park Avenue, West Roxbury, 3 sheets dated April 2022. The presenters please reintroduce themselves, walk through the proposed work and any changes that may have been made since your new business hearing.
Yes, Keenan Brennigan on behalf of Exonet Systems. I'm joined by Han from NB&C Engineering. This petition involves the installation of a fiber duct that starts on Stella Road, heads west from there, then south on Hyde Park Ave and loops around back north just slightly along Hyde Park Avenue there, where it terminates. This run is 409 feet in total, starting on Stella and finishing on Hyde Park Avenue. Again, we will coordinate with the city in terms of organizing things during construction. I know at the last meeting that one of the local business representatives, Dennis Kirkpatrick, spoke and wanted to make sure that we were going to coordinate with him. And I think we've been in touch with him since this last meeting, just to assure him that we will try to cooperate as best we can. The other issue from the meeting was that Stella Road is a private road. We've been in contact with the residents in the neighborhood about trying to coordinate activity on that. You also asked that we label Stella Road as a private road, and that's what you can see right there. Through Dennis, I've been able to reach out to the local residents in the neighborhood. We haven't had a formal meeting yet, but I think something's in the works to discuss the work on that street. I think that covers everything. Any questions we'll certainly take now.
Go ahead, Amy.
The one follow-up I had for Stella was the pavement, right? It's in really, really tough shape. I know it's a private way, but if you guys could repave it beyond your trench so you're not making the situation worse. It's pretty narrow. There's no curbs. It shouldn't be that complicated, but I think it would make a big difference for the people of Stella Road.
Yeah, and I think we covered that last time. And again, that's something we will coordinate with the local residents. But Arthur Pino the last meeting spoke to that. And that's something I believe Exonet is going to cooperate with and get done.
Okay, great. Then can you throw the limits of repaving on your plans when they come from ILAR?
Yes.
Amy, if you don't mind, this is Arthur. Hello, everybody. Chief, how are you? Could I get that meeting first, Amy, or do you want me just to go 25 feet past? Or I want to do it where it's helpful to the street and the neighborhood, and basically I don't want to go too short, but I just want to Do we
Yeah,
wanna
I mean,
keep
you
it
guys
now?
you guys end at that pole, but the top of Stella's in really rough shape, right? So I think that one trench might be the final straw there. So yeah, I mean, like, I want what the residents of Stella Road want. I just don't want you to take a bad situation and make it worse, on a street where they have to pay to repave their street on their own.
I'm gonna try to get out there, Amy. I wasn't able, didn't have any chance, but let me try to get out there and prior to these being submitted in for Mylar, and I'll throw a number out there, and if I do the whole length, I don't know how long Stella Road is, or if I go 25 feet past or 50 feet past or whatever, I'll figure something out and I'll get something over to Keenan and we can send it over to you guys.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So I believe that Public Works is planning some repaving on Hyde Park Ave. I believe it is south of Cummins Highway, but I just wanted to ask the petitioners whether they've had any conversations about annual repaving plans and whether this would in any way conflict with that. Do I take the silence as no, those conversations have not happened?
Can you direct the question again, Todd?
Yeah, so I believe that the Public Works Department has repaving plans on Hyde Park Ave. They may be south of Cummins Highway, so it may not impact the extent of this project, but the question was whether or not any conversations had been had with the Public Works construction team about whether this project could conflict with freshly laid pavement that they may be planning.
Yeah, I have not had that conversation. I don't believe anyone on our team has.
Okay.
Chief, I apologize. I didn't hear that question when you first asked it initially. I can get with, I have an email into John.
Perfect.
Anyway, so I can add this into the email from him that I have to him. And if you, I'll ask him what he has going on out there. So I'll take care of it.
That would be great. Yeah, if you can just make sure that you're coordinating on the construction timing, would be much appreciated.
I will. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission?
Oh, yes, hello, I just have the same question again about the filing purposes. I just wanted to check the one I have, for this project. I don't have, what I have in front of me, I don't have an updated copy of what you, submitted through Engineering Customer Services. I have what, what Todd sent last night for us to view the plans. I checked the system. The one I have dated is August 2021. So it did look like it was different than the one we approved. If you can just confirm that or just, talk about that.
I think they just had Stella was private.
Yeah, okay, because I just had some changes also on Hyde Park Ave. It looked like, you would had some crossings over the railroads on Hyde Park Ave. So we just don't have, from what I have, I just don't have that in front of me. So it did get looked at last night for PIC purposes, but if you could just, if you haven't sent in the updated plan, if you could just do that through Engineering Customer Services, that'd be great.
I will see to that myself, all right, and get you a fresh copy of everything.
Oh, okay, yeah, just the same way you normally would file the utility plans. That'd be great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, all set.
Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 7?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by XNet Systems for a grant of location with the company status in Hyde Park Ave is read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to public hearing number 8 on a petition by National Grid for a grant of location to install a gas regulator station and associated infrastructure within Bowden Ave Public Way, Dorchester, located north of Bowden Street, Washington Street. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Grant of Location Plans, Bowden Ave at Washington Street, Gas Regulator, Vault, Dorchester, 3 sheets dated March 7th, 2022. Would the presenters please introduce themselves, their affiliations, provide a brief overview of the project, and any changes or responses to comments received at the new business hearing?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Peter Nagel from National Grid, joined by Sam Uifo, who is our vault engineer, as well as Steve Damiano from Power Engineering, who is our permitting consultant. National Grid would like to ask the commission's approval today to install a new regulator station on Bowden Avenue. This process started with a fairly robust conversation with PIC staff relative to several other sites, keeping in mind the commission's desire to see our infrastructure out of the public rights of way. We worked with several city agencies to try to accomplish that. Ultimately, we were unsuccessful. So what we are proposing before you today is to install a new station on Bowden Avenue with a easement that was obtained from the abutter, which will enable us to get some of our infrastructure off the public right-of-way. The new vault that we're proposing is a 3-chamber vault with roughly 200 feet of inlet as well as outlet piping. The inlet piping will tie into Washington Street at the indicated cursor there, while the outlet piping will tie into Bowden Avenue. The referenced easement will allow us to put a traffic box in the private property as well as vent posts with a small portion of the traffic box going into the existing sidewalk there, which we will obviously replace in kind after our construction. It was raised at the new business hearing 2 weeks ago by Mr. Jayasingh, what National Grid would be able to do relative to the intersection. And going back and looking at that further would commit to paving that intersection upon our completion of any main installation there. With that, I'd turn it over to commission members or PIC staff for questions.
Members of the commission, anything you'd like to ask or comment on? PIC, any comments or questions from PIC staff or members of the public?
Nothing from the public, but I would just ask that the limits of roadway resurfacing be shown on these plans when you submit Mylar.
That's fine.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 8?
Make a motion to approve a petition by National Grid for a grant of location in Bowden Ave as read to the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? So moved. Thank you very much. On to public hearing number 9 on a petition by National Grid for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps. L Street, generally between East 4th Street and Emerson Street, East 4th Street at L Street, Emerson Street at L Street. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plans, L Street and Emerson Street, and East 4th Street, South Boston, 2 sheets dated April 28th, 2022. Would the presenters please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, give a brief overview of the work proposed and any changes that have been made since the new business hearing.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Peter Nagel from National Grid, joined by Sam Oifo from National Grid, as well as Steve Damiano from Power Engineering. The several changes from the new business hearing after committing to looking at the pedestrian ramps and ADA compliance. Several changes before you today are the proposed plan from the city, which National Grid will entail as part of its vault replacement. The first being the curb bump out on L Street, indicated by the blue dotted line, will bounce out that curb line a little bit there, especially on that corner, which will enable us to do cross access ramps there on both L Street as well as East 4th Street. Going down onto East 4th on the diagonal corner, if you will, there will be another curb realignment there to better acclimate those ramps. Coming across, there will be a ramp there. No amendment to the existing curb line. Coming down L Street, if you will, to the south to Emerson Street, there will be a similar curb bump out on the corner, again, to better accommodate the ramps on those sidewalks, on those crosswalks, excuse me. That's the gist of the new plans from the set that was proposed and provided for the new business hearing 2 weeks ago. With that, I'd turn it over to commission members.
Can I ask if there's been any conversations with the business owner, the restaurant in particular, that I believe sits at that corner of East 4th and L Street? I know historically they have had outdoor dining along that curb line, and I don't know if that is currently the case, but I'm wondering if there's been any outreach to them about the impacts of this change.
There has not been discussion there. The plan was to obviously have a conversation with the dry cleaner at the corner of L and Emerson, whose access would not be impeded, but we would be working in front there. But I will take that as a takeaway to discuss with the restaurant as well.
That would be great.
Yeah, presumably, the only impact would be during construction, during the time of construction. So it should have a positive impact otherwise.
Yes, I think it would be appreciated if in those conversations, if they are planning or doing outdoor dining this year, to sort of attempt to schedule construction to minimize disruption to their business. That the outdoor dining season, well, speaking to them about that, I think would be helpful in just trying to coordinate with them. So.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Do I hear a motion to, any questions or comments from PSC staff or members of the public?
No, all set.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 9?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by National Grid for the making of specific repairs within L Street, East 4th Street, and Emerson Street, as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Moving on to public hearing number 10 on a petition by National Grid for a grant of location to install a gas regulator station and associated infrastructure within the following public ways in South Boston: L Street between East 4th Street and Emerson Street west of L Street. This was new business from April 14th, 2022, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Grant of Location Plans, L Street at 4th Street, South Boston, gas regulator station, 4 sheets dated January 18th, 2022. If the presenters would please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, give a brief overview of what's proposed, and note any changes or responses to comments received at the new business hearing.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Peter Nagel, National Grid, joined by Sam Oifo from National Grid, as well as Steve Damiano from Power Engineering. National Grid would like commission consideration today on a replacing in kind a 2-chamber regulator vault at the corner of Emerson and L Streets with a pretty robust sidewalk and crosswalk replacement. The existing station's vault serves roughly 6,850 customers, and National Grid had fairly extensive conversations with various abutters, again, heeding the commission's advice to attempt to get those facilities off the rights of way. Easement discussions were not successful. So in working with commission staff, we have gone back to our existing location. The station would be served by 12-inch inlet piping, which is indicated within the existing crosswalk layout, or the existing sidewalk layout, excuse me. Similarly, the outlet piping would be on the sidewalk as well. And this set of plans will show that the bump out, which we had referenced in our previous that was approved, will even allow us to include more of that piping within the existing sidewalk that would be replaced upon completion of the project. Also including pedestrian access in that area as much as possible and at all times for the business in that immediate block. The construction would anticipate would take roughly 10 weeks to complete. With that, I'd turn it over to commission members for questions.
I think for the final PIC plans, and I defer to PIC staff, whether or not the updated ped ramp condition should be shown on this plan for clarity of the final street condition.
Yeah, we'll include that in the Mylar submission.
Yeah, we'll work with you, Peter, to have that shown on the Mylar.
Thanks, Todd.
Any other questions or comments from members of PIC staff? Excuse me, from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
No, all set.
Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 10?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by National Grid for a grant of location in L Street and Emerson Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? So moved. On to, thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Members.
Moving on to new business. And before I get to this, just a brief reminder on the process here. I do see there's some members of the public who are on likely for one of the new business items. So we will go through presentation, commission questions and discussions, and then we will have an opportunity for members of the public to comment. If you wish to comment, please use the raise hand function in Zoom, and we'll make sure to call on you during that period of the process. So on to new business number 1, Cambridge Street, Parkman Street, Blossom Street, North Grove Street, North Anderson Street, Boston proper, discontinuances, widening relocation, pedestrian easements, specific repairs, private utility license, earth retention license, on a set of petitions by the General Hospital Corporation, DBA Massachusetts General Hospital. Would the presenters please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and provide an overview of what is being proposed here?
Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Howard Mosier. I work with VHB in Boston. Very excited to be here today on behalf of the Massachusetts General Hospital's newest project. We're joined today by Nick Haney from Mass General Hospital, Tom Sinevich from MBBJ, Architect of Record, Chris Rainier from Goulston and Storrs, and many other engaged members of the design and the project team. So Mr. Haney is going to introduce the project briefly, and we'll get rolling. So thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, Chief Hodge and members of the commission. I'm Nick Haney from Mass General Hospital. Just a brief overview of the hospital. We're a proud institution in the city of Boston with a relationship we were founded back in 1811. So we've been here for over 200 years, and we're planning on a long-term building that will be here for many years to come. We're one of the largest employers in the city of Boston with about 27,000 employees, of which 24% are from City of Boston residents. And we're also a hefty contributor to the City of Boston's pilot program. There's some other benefits of the hospital that are listed on here that I won't go into further detail in the interest of time. Why do we need this building? We need it for 2 main reasons. One is to relieve the constraints of the capacity of the emergency department. And the second reason is that we only have about 38% of our approximately 1,000 rooms as private rooms, meaning single bed rooms. As I mentioned, being an old facility or hospital, almost a third of our patient beds right now are in buildings that are either 79 or 53 years old. So we need to replace those beds with new, modern, and current technology. These buildings that you'll see on the right here are going to primarily house a cardiac and cancer care. Will be the 2 focuses of what's going to occupy this space. And we chose this site because it's the most efficient way that we could build the building without impacting the existing clinical care of the existing buildings throughout the campus. It also allows us to replace some outdated above ground parking garage as well. Next slide, please. We've been working on the permitting for this project. We started officially in February of 2019. And we're hoping that we're getting to the point where we're almost concluding this permitting effort. But throughout the last few years, we've had a robust community process with a lot of different conversations and some very beneficial help from the district Councilor Kenzie Bach, as well as State Representative Jay Livingstone, and to try and help guide what some potential mitigation for the project could be. Some of the areas that I'll just highlight is that we're going to be working towards developing a West End community center in space that we're currently leasing right outside our campus, but also in the center of the West End. We've also made strong commitments for historic preservation with rebuilding one of the facades of the buildings that will have to be removed from the site to build the project. But we're also working in concert with the West End Museum and the Museum of African American History on both programming inside our space as well as collaborating with those 2 museums on how we can work better with events in their space as well. Was a request. We own a property, 12 Garden Street, which is one of the few properties on what I'll call the opposite side of Cambridge Street. And the request was to remove the institutional uses from that facility and then potentially develop it as a affordable housing project. And so those conversations have begun as well. And then for transportation and transit, we are incorporating an MBTA head house that will be part of the red-blue connector when that comes to fruition. We're also dramatically increasing our bicycle parking capacity throughout the campus. And we're creating new bike lanes around the campus as well. And we're continuing to work with the BTD staff on ways to incorporate a bike lane during the construction period of the project as well. With that, I will introduce Tom Sinevich of MBBJ.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Nick. Really look forward to continuing input from the city and your input in particular as we evolve the design here. I am Tom Sinevich. I'm leader of about 40 architects and designers who are driving this project forward. This is the project site. It includes roads around the site, Cambridge Street on the bottom, Blossom Street to the right, Parkman Street across the top of the project, and North Grove Street. This is areas that are touched by the project and detailed in the IMP, which does include a reconstruction of Brigham Green. I point that out because the North Anderson public arcade that we are proposing integrates with that famous and well-loved local open space. Two other points while I look at this slide with you. We are accommodating, as Nick said, an MBTA head house for the future extension of the Blue Line, which is being circled by the cursor there. And there is also the inclusion of a new public open space on the corner of North Grove and Cambridge Street. Next slide. This is an aerial view looking towards the northeast. You can see that the overall scheme of the project is two towers on top of a podium base, which matches the context in both its scale, detail, and character. One of the patient towers is 14 stories, the other one is 13 stories, and you can see the existing campus to the left and also the west end. Next slide. In the foreground, this is a view looking to the northwest, and in this case, we're above the dome of the State House, Beacon Hill, obviously in the foreground, and Cambridge Street. You can see the campus and Charles River beyond. Next slide. Take you briefly on a tour around the base of the building. This is the Cambridge Street elevation. You actually will never see the building this way because the context, as you can see, ghosted in the foreground, has been removed for clarity so that you can see how how the building overall works. This shows the opening to the North Anderson Street Public Arcade, the entranceway, two connecting bridges between the two patient bed towers. Next slide. It's a corner of North Grove Street and Cambridge Street. You're seeing an auditorium. We are a teaching hospital. We imagine this to be where there's the exchange of new ideas, similar to the Ether Dome. But below that, you'll see the detail of the publicly accessible and new open space constructed there. Next slide. Corner of Blossom Street and Cambridge Street, the Wyndham Hotel on the right-hand side there. This shows the way in which the podium base matches its context, and there's a meditation space marking this corner, obviously a place needed in a place with so much dramatic human need. Next slide. This is a detailed zoomed in of the entrance to the North Anderson Public Arcade from Cambridge Street. You can see the bike lane that we're proposing in front of the building, as well as the head house, which is incorporated into the architecture of the building. Gives you an overall sense of the quality of that public way. Next slide. Finally, a image of Blossom Street and Parkman Street, which shows us incorporating portions of the Winchell School, working very closely with Kenzie Bach and State Representative Livingstone, who brought the concerns of the community forward. We have incorporated this piece of this important memory and piece of the West End into the corner of the building. Next slide.
Thank you, Tom, very much. And I'm just going to quickly go back. Just in the background of this slide, you can see a proposed pedestrian bridge in the background we'll talk about soon. So we have quite a lengthy list of requested PIC actions and approvals. This is probably going to deviate from the format when we go to hopefully public hearing, but I wanted to group them into three general buckets. One is concerning the building, the tunnel, and the bridge rights. There's some just transactional elements there. Then there's obviously the important urban realm improvements, which will be reflected in the specific repairs. As a result of the specific repairs, we will be granting a number of pedestrian and highway easements. And then lastly, we have some construction phase approvals for temporary earth support. What do we have to do to hold up the earth to construct this building? I just want to say, as we go through the presentations, that as we talk about North Grove, North Anderson, and Parkman Street, those streets are owned in fee by MGH. So again, for reference, as Tom had mentioned, Parkman to the north, Blossom, an important connection to the east, Cambridge to the south, and North Grove on the west. So one of the most vital PIC actions is the discontinuance of North Anderson Street. And as I toggle back, North Anderson Street under existing conditions runs right through the 2 blocks. And in order to create the project, the podium, the garage, and construct the public arcade, it requires the discontinuance of North Anderson Street. Similarly, a proposed overhead connection, a critical connection from this new building to the heart of the campus, is being proposed over Parkman Street and portions of North Grove. This would be a 2-story bridge, where 1 story of the bridge would be useful and accessible to everyone, the public and patients and visitors. And the upper level will be more private for those getting care in the hospital to respect their privacy. The clearances for this bridge have been reviewed by BFD and been found to be acceptable and exceed the existing bridge that crosses Fruit Street. As we move down Parkman Street to the west, there is a proposed tunnel connection. This allows the new building to minimize loading dock capacity, but take advantage of the robust subsurface access that the hospital does have to move trash, goods, services. This is not a person tunnel. This is for goods, services, trash, and things of that nature. So they don't have to be at the street network level and interfere with pedestrians. That tunnel is shown here. This is a bit out of sequence, but we are going to be proposing to grant a highway easement in this portion of Parkman Street, but to then construct the building, we need to then subsequently discontinue certain elements of it. So this is a mechanical step here with this discontinuance area. So it's very likely in the public hearing, this will come after we've granted the widening and relocation highway easement. And it also, to help clean up all the various pedestrian easement rights and set the stage for the granting of new pedestrian easement rights, we are proposing to discontinue an existing pedestrian easement that was granted not that long ago on the south side of Parkman Street between North Grove Street and North Anderson Street. We are proposing to discontinue this because we're going to be granting a brand new one that matches with the street improvements. And then in terms of just kind of, as I bucketed kind of rights and land transactional elements, we are proposing a private drain service that crosses Parkman Street, and we're proposing a license for a private drain. This building is going to have a number of sophisticated mechanical systems as part of its sustainability and stormwater approach. The buildings are going to contain tens of thousands of gallons of storage to capture rainwater. That water is intended to be reused within the building, but in the event the tank is full and we get another precipitation event, that water will be transferred up into the Bulfinch lawn where it can be recharged back into the ground and providing further stormwater rate and quality improvements. And then that kind of concludes at the licenses and discontinuance types of activities. Then we get into the really fun stuff. And as Nick and Tom mentioned, we're at the end of years of extremely productive and in-depth engagement with community agencies and other members of the public, resulting in a robust streetscape. So this plan represents Parkman Street. And on Parkman Street, we're able to provide, where you see a concrete hatch, this will be city standard concrete sidewalks that provide clear and straight paths of travel along Parkman Street. Outboard of that clear path of travel, similar to many projects you've seen earlier today, we're proposing unit paver furnishing zones that will contain street lights, some protective bollards that are not within the path of travel. We are proposing to construct an ADA compliant passenger loading zone for the hospital. This is the only passenger loading zone being provided curbside for this facility. And going across the street, we'll be reinvigorating those sidewalks with some private landscaping, improved accessible curb ramps here. One of the recent changes at the request of a couple departments was to include another mid-block crosswalk in this location, and the widening of an existing sidewalk at the corner of Parkman and Blossom. Going to the next page, we've turned the corner. Parkman's now on the right, North is to the left. We're going down Blossom Street. We work closely with many city departments to establish that this curb line on Blossom Street should not change from its existing location. This allows the city to maximize its potential opportunity to reconstruct Blossom to whatever image it may want to. And we do not get out of in the way by proposing any widened sidewalks. We are eliminating a curb extension, which was installed at MGH's cost not that long in the future, to accommodate that and accommodate the project. Clear path of travel running along the building. On Blossom Street, we're able to take advantage of some good sunlight, proposing street trees and infrastructure associated with street trees. We are proposing to construct in this location a loading dock sign, which indicates to vehicles before they enter the loading dock, is it available to be entered or is it full? We do not want trucks or any other vehicles to be backing across pedestrian areas. This signage will eliminate that possibility. Trucks will pull in, maneuver within the loading dock, and maneuver out. Moving across the street, next page. We turn the corner again on the Cambridge Street. Blossom is on the right. The hotel is on the right here. And on Cambridge Street, we're also working with a number of agencies directed to hold the principal curb line along Cambridge Street and eliminate the existing curb extensions, again, to give the city the greatest opportunity to construct multimodal accommodations and not get in the way of that. We've been working and continue to work very closely with the Transportation Department and other agencies to achieve that vision, as Nick had mentioned. And we construct a generous sidewalk running east-west, furnishing zone with trees, short-term bike parking. This is the entry to the arcade. Bike racks would be provided here on private property, and a blue bike station would be provided here on private property. The open space that Mr. Sinevich mentioned is located here, and new accessible curb ramps here and here. And one thing to note is after we have filed the official documents, we've been asked to examine the radii in this curb here and other curb radii, see if we could reduce the curb radii and create more sidewalk space. And we're actively looking at that, and we will be able to report out on that when we present at the public hearing. We're encouraged by some of our early findings, and we'll hopefully report positive news all around. And then as we go around the corner, next page, we are back on North Grove Street. This street has experienced the biggest change through the PIC notification process. As a result of comments made by various agencies, we've eliminated an existing and proposed taxi stand. And that enables us to create a protected bike lane. What you're seeing here with symbols are the delineators that will provide the protection. We had numerous rounds of conversations with BTD staff to find out how we could best protect reflecting existing shallow infrastructure and provide the maximum benefit to the city. And this is the outcome that was accomplished. The garage will be accessed here, egress here. That egress is intended only to be used during peak periods. And then we've kind of gone around the block, and this is another corner here at Parkman and North Grove. We've been asked to examine tightening that radius and providing more sidewalk area. So with all these various specific repairs that have been proposed, we are in the position to grant some pedestrian easements and highway easements. So on Parkman Street, since we are modifying the curb line along the principal plane, we are proposing granting a widening and relocation, which would result in a highway easement for those areas because we're modifying the curb line. And similarly, on Parkman Street, behind that curb line, we're proposing some generous pedestrian easements. Moving around the block, again on Blossom, a pedestrian easement for that path of travel. Cambridge Street, similarly, and North Grove Street, a very wide pedestrian easement. That concludes the specific repairs. Moving on to those construction phase elements, as everyone knows who's familiar with the area, it is dense. These are not, Parkman is not a wide street. So to construct the slurry wall that enables the construction of the below grade elements, the project is proposing temporary earth retention, which takes the support fashion of soldier piles and lagging. These will be installed around the perimeter as shown on the plan. No tiebacks are proposed on this project, and there'd be perimeter earth support around pretty much the four sides of the building. You can see this is the tunnel and the earth support for the tunnel on this plan right here. In addition to the excavation support, there'll be the need for support for tower cranes and personnel hoists, and these are all reflected on the plans that you're seeing here. Here and here and here. As Nick had mentioned earlier, we've been asked to take a hard look, and we are coordinating actively on the construction logistics on Cambridge Street. There's a possibility that we may have to amend the plan for earth support to accommodate some recent requests. But as it is, we are proposing some temporary earth support on Cambridge. This might require modification as those productive conversations continue. I would say there's also a number of sheets in the package that are more details of those elements. I'd be happy to present them, but that is the bulk of the subject matter being presented in the package that the commission has before them. So I would turn it over for questions, comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is quite a project and a lot to cover, but I will open up the floor to members of the commission for comments and questions. I believe Ms. Cording had indicated she may have had some.
Right, these guys have been through the ringer with us, so we're actually in pretty good shape. I would say that my one comment is that we are prepping the Parkman Blossoms intersection for future signalization, and we discussed the addition of some interconnect and handholds, et cetera. If those can make it to the specific repair plans, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I just had a few minor questions just to be addressed in the next phase of the PIC process. We just want to make the team aware of any potential on-street accessible parking spaces and ensure that throughout construction that if those spaces could be coordinated with my office, we would appreciate it, especially given the sensitive area that these spaces may be located. So just please coordinate with our office on any of those parking spaces that you may find within your construction zone. And then with the addition of the additional crosswalk on Parkman, is it possible to adjust the ramps on the other side that are currently now apex ramps into directional ramps? And then we just want to confirm the compliance of the reciprocal ramps on North Grove as well as you reconstruct the ramps on yours on the project side.
Thank you. We have, and we are prepared to add notes on the reciprocal ramps. That comment was made by PIC staff. It needs to make its way on the plan. We will look again at with the addition of the additional crosswalk on Parkman, the ramp arrangement. We are improving those and making them wider and improve the geometry there. We'll see what we can do. And thank you for the note on the, if there's any existing on-street accessible spaces, we'll coordinate with your office. So thank you.
Can the new crossing at Parkman be raised?
We have looked at that and we did not find that to be a possibility due to the road drainage. And there's existing catch basins that would have to be, the whole street would have to be reconstructed to accommodate a raised crossing there. We did look at it and it would trickle down the Wang entry facade. So it'd be a very large endeavor on a very narrow street. So we did look at that as a means to improve the access across the street. We've looked at it several times over the past 3 years.
Mr. Mosher, roughly, once you break ground, how long would it take to complete this project? Very roughly.
Nick, yeah, thank you.
This is Nick Haney again from Mass General Hospital. In order to build this building, we're going to sequence it in a way that allows the existing above grade garage to stay open until we can build the new subterranean garage. The parking garage is the parking capacity for the existing hospital. So because of the fact that we have to keep that open, the sequence will have us finish the first or occupy the first tower in approximately late 2026. And the second tower will be complete in 2030. So it is a long construction duration, primarily based around the way we have to sequence the site.
Thank you.
I know that this has been alluded to several times in the presentation, but just to sort of confirm officially for the commission, is it correct that you are, that the proponents are still in discussions with the Boston Transportation Department about a finalized construction management plan that would provide pedestrian and cyclist improved pedestrian and cyclist accommodations along Cambridge Street throughout the duration of the project, and that is still a work in progress? Is that correct?
It's an extremely active work in progress, and there's been meetings quite frequently with various members of city staff, including one yesterday morning trying to refine dimensions. We're down to inches here, trying to do the best we can for the city. And it does require a bit of modification to the hospital's approach along that facade. So the construction managing team of Turner and Walsh Brothers have been looking very hard at this, but we're talking in dimensions and fractions of feet at this point. So a lot of encouraging discussions.
Yeah, that's very encouraging to hear, and appreciate the effort and looking forward to more at the next hearing on that one. Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? All right. Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public or elected officials? And I would just ask that if any members of the public or elected officials want to speak, that they raise their hand. I will actually start with PIC staff to see if there's any additional comments, and then I will call on folks who have their hands raised.
No, I'm all set. You're welcome to go to your audience.
Excellent. Well, I will start with Councillor Bach and recognize her, and please feel free to speak.
Thank you so much, Chief, and thanks to everyone serving on PIC. It's such important work. I just wanted to appear today sort of to corroborate the MGH's team's comments that we worked on this one for quite a while together. And register a few of the transportation things that were important to me. And Rep. Livingstone, he couldn't be here today, but who I said I would also express sort of similar sentiments on behalf of. So, you know, I think that we all know this is a super important site, and its impacts are huge on the West End and Beacon Hill neighborhoods. And those are really the things that we worked on extensively with the team. And I'll bracket all the historic preservation stuff and everything else that we worked on. But on the transportation side, you know, there's a couple of sort of key things here in the plan from my perspective that are good, and that are things that, you know, we all know we're going to have to keep working on together. So I just wanted to register one that, you know, the Blossom Street rebuild is super, super important to all of us. It's for the number of pedestrians using that street, and especially crossing at that Parkman and Blossom intersection. It's really substandard today. And so, you know, the way that intersection gets rebuilt and the way the whole street gets rebuilt, and the, you know, the bike facilities and the crosswalk geometry actually making sense, it's just super important to us. And it's huge for us that the project came to the table ultimately with $4 million to sort of complement the $2 million in the city's capital plan that's been languishing there for about 10 years. Because it's really important for us that Blossom gets rebuilt, and rebuilt well and beautifully, and with the pedestrian really put first and foremost. Because I have a senior building right across the way there, and it's just, there's a lot of lot of danger and a lot of close calls at that intersection. So just, wanted to flag that we're really going to be following, I know the department's working on the final details of that rebuild, but that, the safety there is really important to us. At the sort of diagonal other corner of the site, North Grove and Cambridge, even just this week, I've had more footage of accidents there. We're seeing just the way that visual lines get obscured and the queues that build up turning into MGH can actually create a real issue for folks who are headed towards Charles Circle and want to turn left up Grove onto Beacon Hill because of the queue that's running eastward to get into MGH. They often don't see the traffic that's got a green running eastward. And so we get frequent collisions there. So we're really looking for a resolution. And one of the things that was, that's why there's that 250,000 in the mitigation related to this project, specifically around that intersection. Frankly, we're looking for a left turn signal there ASAP, because it's just, we keep getting a lot of close calls. But I think that the team, here has worked with us extensively on understanding that that's a pain point, and that of course, it is being driven very directly by the demand to turn into the project. And so I just want to highlight, that's a big focus for Beacon Hill folks. And then of course, in general, the traffic on Cambridge Street and thinking about how to make the whole flow kind of work. And we really appreciate the work that the department did with the MGH team to get the curb cut off of Cambridge Street. That's huge for us. And it's one of the reasons that for me, the abandonment of North Anderson makes sense in this context, because we really are trying to kind of, this is a heavily pedestrian campus. So many people are getting off the T and going to it. So many people work, you've got patients who are staying at that hotel across Blossom again, folks constantly crossing Cambridge to go to the businesses on the south side. So for me, a long frontage that's well done, that's pedestrian focused, the bicycle parking, just kind of in general, sort of leaning into the kind of hive-like, mostly not four-wheeled activity at this site is really important. We went back and forth on the addition of parking here. It's, not an area where Rep. Livingston and I like to see parking added at all. And the team did bring that number down a little bit. And it was important to us that MGH is maintaining a commitment to really having their workforce not drive, and that those parking spaces are really more related to the long-term, patients. We've got obviously a cancer center, et cetera. We understand that there is some number of personal vehicle car trips that we can't eliminate because of the nature of the use. So that's a little bit of scattered commentary, but I just sort of wanted to emphasize, we've worked for a couple of years now on this plan. The traffic piece is of really great importance to the neighborhood, both Beacon Hill and West End. Pedestrian safety is first and foremost, and there's definitely ways in which this plan, in being implemented, is going to involve continuing partnership between the proponents and the departments on making sure that we get everything right. But supportive of this application today, and I know that Rep. Livingstone also wanted to express his support. So thank you so much, Yasha.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I would like to, first let me just say, is there anything that the project proponents would like to say in response to any of those comments? All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'll recognize Mr. Whitney. Rob?
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Thanks very much. Thanks to the PIC members and staff as well. I want to echo pretty much everything Kenzie said. The Civic Association has really admired and appreciative of Councillor Bach and Representative Livingstone's efforts on our behalf with respect to this project and the West End, as well as the work we've been going back and forth with MGH, or MGB now, sorry, and on this particular project. There's a couple things I wanted to highlight in addition to the things that Councillor Bach said on Blossom Street. We agree with all those comments. We do remain concerned about the traffic that turns left on Cambridge Street that heading east and turns up onto North Grove. I'm not sure I looked at the plan, pretty detailed with respect to the layout on the street. I'm not quite sure, maybe you could explain a little bit more on sort of the traffic flow issues, how many lanes are going to be left after this new bike lane has been in there, how the addition of the bike lane, which I'm not opposing, but I'm just wondering the effect of that by moving traffic to the west, I guess, on North Grove will affect that turn of traffic from Cambridge Street. As Kenzie mentioned, there are quite a few accidents on Cambridge Street. I just was walking on there the other day, 2 days ago, saw traffic once again backing up from that left turn all the way into Char Circle, all the way up towards the ramp onto the bridge, which I know you guys are trying to deal with that. But one of the things we would like to see as part of this project going forward is sort of a long-term strategy on both that turn off on Cambridge going on North Grove and how we can maybe push some of that traffic, for the project at the end of the day, up onto Blossom Street, as we've talked about a couple of times before, especially with the new garage coming, and sort of try to relieve that pressure on that left turn there. And any other thoughts on that? That would be really helpful to us. And thanks very much. I appreciate the time.
So I do have some thoughts, Chairperson, if you wanted, but I wanted to give the commission the opportunity first.
Any commissioners who'd like to speak to that? Otherwise, we can turn it over to the proponents. All right, go ahead, Howard.
So thank you. And I brought up the site plan. Thank you, Mr. Liming, for having me bring this up on screen. So I think, Mr. Whitney, Rob, you were talking about the intersection of North Grove and Cambridge and what the implication of the introduction of the bike lane means. I would say, just very briefly, we spent a considerable amount of time with BTD and their active transportation department looking at the existing cross-section of North Grove. As you know, it's fairly narrow for 3 lanes, and it does create the opportunity for people to think they can park versus travel in a lane. And after watching video examples of what's happening, there's cameras out there to help with transportation issues. It came to the collective, kind of decision that having 2 regularly striped lanes that are well marked with the protected bike lane will eliminate that driver confusion and eliminate the perception of people to be able to park behind the taxi stand and having that friction trickle back out onto Cambridge. So it was a firm belief that this arrangement would improve flow there and eliminate driver confusion, and also eliminate the compelling vacuum of space on the east side of North Grove where the taxi stand was for people to park. So it's viewed that this could be an improvement there with the improvement of markings, improved pavements, et cetera, et cetera. So that was looked at hard through the process after, all the meetings we had with you and your colleagues. So thank you.
Can I ask, perhaps, can the proponents speak a little bit to the thinking around the existing backups on North Grove and some of the changes being made sort of further upstream in the project related to parking and access and parking management that may impact the demand on North Grove and the pace at which vehicles can be absorbed into the site?
Well, that's a good one. There's a lot in there, multiple parts. So we'll see if we can get it real quick, and happy to follow up also. But, MGH has 2 primary paths in to the campus, and keeping in mind that ambulances are of critical importance too. The 2 ways into the heart of the campus are from Cambridge onto North Grove or Blossom at Cambridge as the points in. Under existing conditions, all traffic that needs to go to this site is generally funneled to where the existing garage entry is on Parkman between North Anderson and North Grove. And so just as a means of pulling cars, the goal is to pull cars off Cambridge as quickly as possible and I would say as efficiently as possible, not quickly, to get them vehicles that are driving into the reduced parking garage to have a ramp right here. Again, eliminating traffic through intersections wherever possible. The goal is to not have cars travel through intersections. Cars can travel in and get here. If they happen to miss that, there is a and there's always been encouraged to take advantage of the left on Blossom. It's hard to encourage drivers when the first thing they see is the building, they want to take the left, but to take that second means and be able to access the garage here, again, minimizing the path through the intersections. We had originally a long time ago proposed the exit on North Grove on Cambridge and the entrance on Cambridge, and it was determined that that was not the best place for the city and its citizens. So we've come with this arrangement that is able to efficiently control flow with a first phase having that access into and out of it. So trying to balance through encouraging people to take advantage of the second access point on Blossom, that will diffuse the situation. But a little bit, when we were going through the traffic study and the Article 80 process, there's a lot of traffic on Cambridge Street that has the majority by a good margin. It has nothing to do with MGH. So we just need to get them into the campus as quickly as possible so Cambridge can process as it wants to process. And I think the Blossom Street Improvement Project, what the city's looking at Cambridge, maybe red blue, will help alleviate that. And so in no way does this project preclude any opportunities to make further improvements for multimodal transport along that corridor. So that was a brief, quickly spoken, but I tried to capture it all.
Thank you. Any other comments or follow-up questions before we move on to the next commenter? All right, Ms. Thomas. See, Louise Thomas with her hand raised.
Okay.
There we go. Now
Sorry
we can hear
about
you. No problem.
Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly with Kenzie that Blossom Street. I live in the West End, and I represent the West End Civic Association. The first thing that came to my mind, I was on the IAG for the Article 80 process. I never heard anything about them taking away the cab stand. The reason I'm asking that is because I'm a volunteer there and I know how much they're used. Does anyone know where the cab stands are going?
This is Nick Haney from MGH. We're going to have to find a place to relocate the cab stand too. And the removal of the cab stand was something that happened recently within the PIC process.
Okay, that's really important, Nick, because I was at the information desk for years, and especially for, I know you're thinking about Uber and Lyft, but a lot of the elderly Boston residents, they use the taxis. So you really need to think about that because they're not only used, that cab stand was not only used for the main campus, but also at 165.
Agreed. I mean, finding a new home for that is something that we'll have to do as a priority just for the existing patients, as you're mentioning, how they get through get picked up and dropped off throughout the campus. But the removal of it was, again, a effort to try and improve the flow of traffic down through North Grove Street.
Well, there's another thought. What about Nashua Street? Having cabs over there and, well, I don't know, it would take too long for them to get there. I hope you think long and hard about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you very much. Any final comments from any members of the public? One additional item I just want to raise with the proponents. So I believe that there are some discontinuance fees that would be owed to the city upon a discontinuance. And I just wanted to confirm with the proponents that they are aware of and whether there are any open questions related to that or if everything is intended to be paid as typically would be in a situation like this.
Thank you. The proponent has commissioned the appraisal per the standard procedures within a city-approved appraiser, and that information has been shared with staff that would normally administer that. So I don't think there's any questions or comments beyond that. That's already been done.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I see another hand raised from Mr. Whitney. Rob?
Yeah, Chief, I'm sorry. I had one more thing. Someone had sent me a text message reminding me to ask the question. In terms of easements and the ones you're creating during the public hearing process earlier this year and last year, we talked about access through the new arcade, which is resulting from the abandonment of the North Anderson Street. Is that going to be sort of a public easement setup? How is that going to be regulated in terms of the PIC process, or is it? Thank you.
Nick, are you able to unmute?
I don't believe that we're applying for any easement through the North Anderson Arcade. So that wouldn't be part of this process. Part of this process would be abandoning the North Anderson right of way. What we have provided to PIC staff is information about our intentions that this space would be open in a similar manner to the way that the White Building was open. So during normal kind of business hours, there would be able to flow through there. When looking at the ground floor, over 50% of the ground floor is going to be open to the public, throughout the majority of the day. There is times, again, that we'll have to close it or potentially close it, but those are, again, the issues of security or of when there's an infection control issues that it would have to be shut down. But the intention is that the majority of the space that you see on this plan that's in color is open to the public throughout the majority of the day.
Okay, I just know it was a big issue for a lot of the West End folks, is particularly cutting through from Whittier Place and Emerson Place, cutting through to Cambridge Street.
And we did look at that we felt though that yes, you should be able to cut through here again during most of the normal working hours. But if you're going to the West End, for instance, Blossom Street was the more of the straight shot. Or if you're going into the campus, going down North Grove, and we do recognize the ability for like a community member to get from Cambridge Street to the West End, cutting through the White Building was probably the more straight shot to get them from point A to point B.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Excellent. So any last call for questions, comments, commissioners, public, PIC? All right. So is 2 weeks enough time to address both the things that were raised here today, as well as some of the ongoing issues that are awaiting final resolution with city staff?
We strongly believe so at this stage. So yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, we will see you on May 12th then. Thank you very much for this thorough presentation. This is quite an extensive project, and I know a tremendous amount of work has gone into it over the years. So we appreciate the work and the continued collaboration with folks here.
Thank you for the time and comments.
Thank you.
All right, and moving on to our final item of new business number 2, Congress Street, Hanover Street, Union Street, North Street, Boston proper, widening and relocation on a petition by the Boston Redevelopment Authority, DBA, Boston Planning and Development Agencies. The petitioners please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what is being proposed here.
Yes, thank you and good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Jason Tobin and I am a senior project engineer with the Boston Planning and Development Agency's Capital Construction Unit. The matter before you is primarily a housekeeping matter. You should see on the screen here the subject area. The BPDA owns the site of the New England Holocaust Memorial and Union Street Park, and the Mayor James Curley Memorial Park, collectively known as the Union Street Park, which is located at 98 Union Street in downtown Boston. It is the intent of the BPDA to transfer ownership of the site to the City of Boston's Parks and Recreation Department. Through the ownership transfer process, the Parks Department has requested that 3 areas of the site be transferred to the city's public right-of-way. So you should now see the Public Improvement Commission plan. The 3 areas petitioned, they include existing sidewalk areas, street lighting controls, and in total, the 3 areas amount to about 356 square feet. So they're very small slivers of land. So area 1 is at the corner of Hanover Street and Union Street. Area 2 at North Street and Congress Street. And area 3 along Congress Street. Again, primarily a administrative housekeeping action. No construction improvements or modifications are planned or proposed as part of this action. It's simply our intent to return land to the public right-of-way that's already being used as part of the public way. Also relevant to note that an LMI exists between the BPDA, the Parks Department, and Combined Jewish Philanthropies that manages and maintains the property. Once the area is transferred from BPDA to the Parks Department, the Parks Department will become the licensor of the LMI. So with that, I have Ray Panisi, a colleague of mine with BPDA Real Estate, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from PIC staff or members of the public?
Yeah, no, this is pretty standard. It's just clean up the right-of-way lines. The one thing I would ask is that we can get a copy of that maintenance agreement that you mentioned, just so that we can have it in our files. And if there is any subsequent paperwork that modifies that agreement, we'd like a copy of that as well in the future.
Absolutely. We will we'll work on that.
Excellent. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks?
Yes, we will be.
Great. Well, we will see you on May 12th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, we are. Mr. Lemming, do you want to give a mention to one of the late change to the agenda before we adjourn?
Yeah. I mean, nobody probably cares at this point, but there was the Old Colony project asked to be pulled off the agenda at the very last minute. So an earlier version of the agenda had a third new business action, which is not going to be heard today.
In case anybody was wondering. And with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
You too.